And next, we will meet the candidates running for Spokane City Council President. So first of all, they are John Ahern and Ben Stuckart. And so the first question will go first to Mr. Ahern. You'll each have a minute, and I want you to just simply answer, why are you running for this job? So Mr. Ahern.
All right. Well, I got three reasons why I'm running for the job. Another one, first one is I want to make Spokane a business-friendly city, which it isn't right now. And number two, I want to bring back a modicum of respect for the city council, which used to exist but doesn't today. And third, I want to give you my quick background. I'm a business graduate from the University of Denver, and I've got experience. In fact, I majored in marketing and sales. At the same time, I was elected 5 times to the Washington State Legislature, so I not only have a business background, at the same time, I do have a legislative background, and I think I could really help the city from the standpoint that I still have a lot of great friends over there, and if you need legislation, I can sure help you do that. And I'm also a veteran U.S. Army, so during the time I was in the legislature, we passed 2 major bills, felony DUI bill, and also the Veterans Home for Eastern Washington.
Okay, maybe we'll have a chance to hear some more about that. Your time was up. Mr. Stuckart, you have a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum today. I really appreciate it and appreciate John being here. I ran 3.5 years ago to replicate our small business districts, and I think we've been doing a successful job of that. In the East Sprague area, we've got the targeted investment area where over the next 3.5 years, we're going to spend $18 million from 22 different sources. And I believe if we continue that program and our investment program and our business incentive program, we can make great strides as a community to raising our median wage. I've also focused on the arts and focused on the libraries. I led the campaign to open our libraries more and that levy ballot, and it passed by over 66%. I also worked with the mayor to pass the street levy, that's a 20-year street plan for our community, and to increase a bond in Riverfront Park. So I look forward to continue working for the citizens of Spokane.
Okay, thank you. So since both of you in your opening question brought up the business aspect, I'd like you to explore that a little bit more as to what you would do to continue your work in business or make this a business-friendly, more business-friendly city. And this will be a 1 minute, and we'll start with Mr. Stuckart.
So what the mayor and I just rolled out is our incentive program, which is for projects over $5 million. We've got a matrix that's really going to incentivize investment in our community. And then for smaller projects in targeted area, we're replicating the targeted investment program that I came up with in the East Sprague area in other targeted areas of our community. So that's one thing we need to work on is our incentive program and implementing that in targeted areas throughout our community. The other 3 areas that we need to focus on are the airport for aerospace manufacturing, which I'm on the airport board and proud of that fact. I'm also on the University District Board, and we need to focus on medical and technology in that area. And the third area is the yard up in Hilliard, and with the North-South Freeway coming through, we have a great opportunity to have manufacturing jobs that pay living wages in our town. So it's really twofold, an incentive strategy as we move forward, and then focused area for manufacturing jobs and living wage jobs.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ahern, your additional thoughts.
Okay, my thoughts on the better business climate. First thing I would do would be to get rid of Sanctuary City. As you probably know, the federal government is going to probably start defunding this through the Republican-dominated House and the Senate. And the second thing I think we want to do is get rid of the idea that we have to have a $15 minimum wage, and we also have to have a situation where you get paid leave. By the way, those 2 last issues have been put off deliberately by our current council president for after the election, and they don't want to enrage the business community, and I wouldn't either if I were in that situation. So I think those are the 3 things I would do: eliminate Sanctuary City, and of course, as you know, the gal was killed by an illegal immigrant in San Francisco. We also have right now in our jail a couple of illegal immigrants that would qualify to get rid of at this point. So
Okay.
that's what I would do.
At this point, I'd like to give each of you about 30 seconds for rebuttal comments. Mr. Stuckart, 30 seconds.
Well, I am confused about what a sanctuary city has to do with the business climate in Spokane, but we're actually not a sanctuary city. We have passed into ordinance a law that was on the police books and supported by the National Sheriff's Association and the National Police Association, our police chief and our mayor, that does not allow police to ask immigration status. That has nothing to do with the business climate and is supported by all national organizations. It's something 200 cities have done and doesn't affect the business climate at all.
Okay, Mr. Ahern, 30 seconds.
Okay, well, basically, the sanctuary city, I think, is put yourself in a CEO's position. If he wants to move a branch office in Eastern Washington, he's definitely not going to go to a sanctuary city. And like I said, we got criminals that cannot be investigated, cannot show their immigration status, and they've already killed one gal, like I said, in San Francisco. And there's a huge criminal element that we're allowing in here.
Okay, thank you very much. So now I want to move into some other things related to City of Spokane. What do you see as the role of City Council in improving the effectiveness of police oversight in Spokane? And Mr. Ahern, we'll start with you, 1 minute.
Well, I think to increase oversight, I think, number one, I would extend the forum. When people are up speaking, one of the things I would do, allow them to go a few seconds over. I would definitely listen to what the people are saying, which currently is not, as I understand, not being done. And lastly, the other thing I would not do, if I were a little bit angry, I would not stomp off the stage, shut the whole operation down, and I think I would control my anger. So I think those are a couple of things I would definitely do to improve the city council problem here.
Okay, and just to repeat the question, the role of the City Council in improving the effectiveness of police oversight. Mr. Stuckart?
Yeah, so I'm not sure what the public forum at a city council meeting has to do with police oversight, but here's the problem. In 2009, when the contract with the police guild was signed, the entire ombudsman ordinance was placed inside of the contract. And on this next round of negotiations, the ordinance itself needs to be taken out of the contract in negotiation, because every time we want to improve a system, we shouldn't have to renegotiate our contract with the police guild. And so when you see problems arise that we didn't have an interim ombudsman when Tim Burns left, that's a problem in the ordinance, that it wasn't strict enough to have an interim or ombudsman. That shouldn't have to be negotiated with the guild. So in this next round, the city council needs to hold firm that the ordinance should be taken out of the contract with the guild. And that's the most important thing, is to give flexibility, so as we implement a new system, the city has the flexibility to change the ordinance as we move forward. We've made great strides, but we have a long ways to go.
So as a follow-up question that would go with this, could describe the ideal successor plan for the whole police ombudsman process? And we'll start with you, Mr. Ahern.
Yeah, I think the police ombudsman is very, very necessary to keep track of what's going on, and at least you've got an individual there that can ascertain and take a look at the rights and wrongs that are going on. But I think we definitely need to have this ombudsman, and I know we've had it in the past, and there's been some glitches and so on, but I think there's no question about it. We need to have definite oversight on the police. And keep in mind, the police and the fire departments, they put their lives on the line, and you have to have that into consideration. When it comes to negotiations for contracts, to be honest with you, I would give an edge to both police and fire when it comes to negotiating contracts. Again, they put their lives on the line, and I think the oversight really is with the ombudsman.
Hey, thank you. Mr. Stuckart.
Well, I agree with Mr. Ahern that the ombudsman is important, but I believe the question was, how do we deal with the interim issue, and where we had Mr. Burns quit, and then we had an opening in the ombudsman office, and that caused all sorts of issues and didn't allow cases to be investigated. So the answer to that question is we can do a few different things. First, we pull it out of the contract so we can just implement that. But then second, what does that look like? And that can look a few different ways. We could sign an agreement with the cities of Seattle and Boise so that their police oversight would come into place in a temporary basis if our ombudsman were to, say, get hit by a car, God forbid, or if he left and retired. Or we could have a situation where there are a lot of cases for the ombudsman to handle, and he could contract with different investigators, and then those investigators, one of them could come in an interim role if the ombudsman left, and so they'd already be working on cases and have a background with it. So the answer to the question is there are many different avenues we can take, but we must have a solution for an interim ombudsman.
Okay, thank you. We'll move along in that vein a little bit. What do you see are the most important public safety concerns in Spokane, and do you have ideas for addressing them? And we'll start with you, Mr. Stuckart.
Well, I believe property crime is still an issue. I believe crime in general is an issue. If you go out doorbelling and you're talking to the neighbors, there are still not enough police officers on the street. We're implementing a precinct system which is working. Crime is down, but we need just flat out more police officers. The way we do that is grow the tax base instead of increasing taxes. To do that, we either focus on the economic development, so we bring good jobs in and grow the median income in our community, or we focus on infill development and we have more people in our community. Those are the two ways that we can grow our tax base without increasing taxes and increase the number of police officers that we have. Because just flat out, the number of police officers we have is not enough right now, and the way to do it is through economic development and infill.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ahern, you have 1 minute.
Okay, on this, one of the things, I don't know if you've looked over the blueprint for police reform, and I've had a glance at it, and it looks like judges throughout the city and county of Spokane have come to the conclusion, and I've come to that same conclusion over the years, and that is we need to fine-tune the system. Not everybody needs to be in jail. For instance, I've talked to a couple of judges when it comes to situations where they've got a misdemeanor or even a felony drug thing charged against them. The conclusion is that they go through a rehabilitation, and if they pass it for 1 year, they will not have to do jail time, and they're not going to have to pay the fine. They'll wipe the slate clean. So we need to go ahead and fine-tune the system so we don't have so many people in jail like we have today, and that's very, very costly, I think, to the taxpayers. And that's definitely something that we don't need, but I think this blueprint for police reform is something that we need to really study and move into.
Okay, thank you. So moving on and looking at other issues in the city, what do you see is the role of the city of Spokane in addressing the transient population in our community? And we'll start with you, Mr. Ahern.
Yes.
1 minute.
Okay, I was just talking to Laura Redmond, who owns, she and her husband own Divines down there on 3rd Avenue, or yeah, it's 3rd Avenue. And right behind it are, I guess they were telling me today when I talked to them that they have free food from the churches, and mainly at the underground, or actually at the, under the underpass, and on Wednesdays and Saturdays. And after that, they create one whale of a mess. And I think one of the solutions would be to contact the churches who are providing the food and have them help clean this up. You've got Catholic Charities, you've got Lutheran Family Services, and you've got Union Gospel Mission and that type of thing. They need to help clean up the mess, and they're kind of tearing up their property there. So these indigents, these homeless people,
thank you very much.
To go.
Mr. Stuckart.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, I can. What do you see as the role of the city of Spokane in addressing the transient population in our community?
Well, I think we're an urban hub, and so we've got people from other areas that really are attracted to here, and then we've got, as we've talked about before, a very high poverty rate in our community, and we first need to be honest about our high poverty rate, and then work on how do we increase the median income of our community and create more living wage jobs, and I spoke about that earlier. So the first step is improving our economy so we don't have people that are homeless in our community. The second thing we needed to do is support programs like the Volunteers of America and Catholic Charities. This year, the city invested in the first program of its type. It's very much like a Housing First program, which is where you provide permanent housing for those that are really the homeless that are there and don't have any other options. And you provide them housing along with social services. And there's a building by the Volunteers of America and Catholic Charities that we just broke ground upon, and the city put about $700,000 that we found in the Community Housing and Human Services Department. And we need to focus on those type of programs and implementing more of them.
Okay, thank you. So now let's look at one of the bigger items that's out there. How do you think the city should prepare for the possibility of an oil or coal train derailment in our urban core? And we'll start with you, Mr. Stuckart, 1 minute.
Well, I think we need to stop the trains. There's not much you can do when Bakken oil is traveling through our community, and they call them bomb trains for a reason, and that's because the Bakken oil is more flammable than other oil from other regions. And the more trains we have that come through our community, the greater the risk. I've been to Washington, D.C. twice, and I'm going again next month. I talked to the Secretary of Transportation about rules at the federal level that could be applied. I've gone to Olympia twice as the City Council President and represented us in front of the state legislature on their rulemaking procedures. I've led our delegation to meet with other community members and other elected leaders. I'm a member of the CELA, which is led by King County Executive Dow Constantine. And we need to be stopping the export facilities where they're being built, and we need to address the root causes of our energy dependence, because those are called bomb trains for a region, and the more trains that come through, it's a matter of time.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ahern.
Well, first of all, you're not going to stop transportation coming through here. You can slow it down a bit. That's one thing. Number two, and I think this is being done right now, the rail cars that are coming through here, particularly that are loaded with oil, those oil cars, they're much better built today, and we've insisted on that, not only we here in the city of Spokane, but throughout the nation. And so I think things are actually getting a little bit better. We may see an increase, I think, in rail traffic through Spokane, but it's in a way good for the economy, but I think we've got pretty much in place the safety features as well as the features that go ahead and make sure that we're all safe as they're coming through here. But it's good for the economy for the entire state of Washington, so I don't have a whole lot of objection in that direction.
Okay, thank you. And now, gentlemen, we will go to your closing statements, and we will start with Mr. Stuckart. You will each have 1 minute. Mr. Stuckart.
So I've been proud to serve the city of Spokane for the last 3.5 years. I've led on environmental issues, banning the city's use of PCBs, neonicotinoids. We've adopted urban farming ordinances. I've focused on the targeted investment area in East Sprague. I've led by funding the Arts Fund when the city eliminated the City Arts Department. That's now a thriving organization. I led the creation of the library levy, which increased hours in our libraries. I worked hard to create a skilled workforce with the apprenticeship ordinance. And we've dealt with the basics, the streets, the parks, and now it's time to focus on economic development and raising the median income for all of our citizens. I ask for your vote and thank you for your time today. Thank you.
And thank you. Mr. Ahern, you have 1 minute.
Okay, first thing I would do, again, back to the original question that you asked, I would go ahead and I would make this a business-friendly city, which, believe me, it is not. I've doorbelled, and I talked to an awful lot of business people in Spokane, both large and small, and they're really disgusted with the business climate. So I would definitely make this a better business climate, and I can guarantee I will do that. And the other thing, too, I will go ahead, I will listen to the public when they're speaking up here. I'll not cut them short. And again, I will be able to contain my anger if I happen to be a little bit angry. And I've been in sales all my life, and believe me, you explode during a sale, and you're going to lose that sale. And I've learned that a long, long time ago, so I'm an expert in that area. But very definitely, I would, without a doubt, business climate needs to be a whole lot better. And,
okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ahern. I'm sorry your time was up.
Okay.
And I want to say thank you to both of our candidates for City of Spokane Council President. They, again, were John Ahern and Ben Stuckart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate this.
Next, we meet the candidates for Spokane City Council.